What's up, you guys? Sean Ross Sapp. That was a common Bengals W. We are post-draft, few days removed from the draft. Started on Thursday, rounds 2 and 3 on Friday, finished up on Saturday, and then a bunch of undrafted free agents. I'm going to give you my very uneducated thoughts on the Bengals draft and where that was. Encourage you, if you are here watching, drop a comment, drop a like, drop a thumbs up, a retweet, whatever it is, depending on the platform you're on. I don't do super chats, humper chats over here like the day job. So if any of you are carrying over from Fightful, just drop your comment in here. This is very much a not work thing for me. This is a vanity project, a fun project. And I'm just here to talk about the draft. Got my season tickets last week. I had a lot of people saying that I would have to wait until next year, all that. I got on that wait list in August. I had that Bengals fever before the season started. There are a whole lot of people that they apply for the wait list once they go to their first game or once the season starts. I got very lucky that I went in right before the season started and was on that wait list. Didn't get the tickets where I wanted to. I mean, I would make the investment to get the best possible in the club lux and all that, but just happy that I'm going to be around there. Got the parking passes, that whole jam as well. And with my day job, I mean, there's some of you who do follow me from Fightful and others who don't. Wrestling now doesn't have a huge presence on Sundays, and that's been a staple for, decades. Pay-per-views, big shows that I would have to cover are usually on Sundays, and AEW and WWE haven't been doing it. WWE has taken more of a Saturday method to have like the big fight feel, and AEW does some Sundays, but it's outside of football season because they are owned by Tony Khan, who has a big hand in the Jacksonville Jaguars and doesn't want to compete with the NFL. I love it. I'm here for it. Now I can count on, I would say 9 Sundays, but it's probably going to be about 6 Sundays and then 2 Mondays and a Thursday, and then maybe a Saturday or so. But I'm really excited getting those season tickets. Just pumped, man. Just freaking pumped. But I'm pumped to talk to you guys about the draft. So a few things that we learned here as I pull up my notes. Bengals do not see tight end as a value position because there were, me being uneducated about this, I thought Michael Mayer, first round. I was thinking Darnell Washington whenever they could get him. And I know there were some concerns about Darnell Washington's knees swelling and things like that, but they went deep on defense. And as I love things that I can learn from, and this draft was definitely a learning experience because they're about to pay Joe Burrow a lot of money. They're hopefully about to pay T. Higgins and Jamar Chase a whole lot of money. They just had to let Von Bell and Jesse Bates go. And what they needed to do was get cheaper, get faster, get more athletic, and sort of replace some of that secondary. And I think that they had a very good draft. I look at who they brought in, and I look at the defensive side of things and who they're going to have to pay between Hendrickson and Hubbard. And I'm like, okay, I see why you go defensive end, cornerback, and safety rounds 1, 2, and 3 when you already have a great quarterback. You already have 3 great wide receivers, and I mean great ones. Tyler Boyd is a number 3 who would be a number 2 on almost any other team and can always be a number 1 if you need him to be. That's how good he is and has been. T. Higgins would be a number 1 on almost every other NFL team, and Jamar Chase, I think, is second to only Justin Jefferson. So they're going to get paid. Joe Burrow is going to get paid. The offensive line is going to get paid, and they're going to have to restock on offensive line soon too. But they've got some depth there. So they brought in Orlando Brown. You've got the Jonah Williams situation at right tackle. But when you've got that situation at right tackle, please remember, midway through the season, La'el Collins might come back, assuming they don't cut him between now and then. So La'el Collins might come back. Well, then on the offensive line, as far as depth, you've got Carmen, Adeniji. Like, you've got some depth there in case one of those guys comes back. Like, or in case one of those guys goes down. So that's very good to have the depth of having guys like Harmon and Adeniji and Collins in midseason who have started at a high level. So let's talk about tight end. They seem very excited or very confident in what Irv Smith can do. And Irv Smith, not too long ago, was a second-round pick. Doesn't have that many miles on his body, it doesn't look like. He's still a very, very young guy. Is he going to be the tight end of the future for the Bengals? I doubt it. What the Bengals seem very, very happy to do is to get a guy who feels like he needs to prove himself, and Irv Smith missed half the season, but has shown that he can catch the ball at a high rate. He's had some questions about his hands, and they're like, all right, you can prove yourself here, sign a big contract elsewhere, because the Bengals aren't going to pay a lot of money for a tight end, and understandable. Maybe that changes when they're not paying so much money for running back, but we'll get there. The Bengals went defensive end with Myles Murphy. Great call. Great call. They did not think that he would be available there, which also was the case in round 2 with DJ Turner. They didn't think that DJ Turner would be there. They didn't think that Jordan Battle would be there. So what they were able to do was to pick up some names, solidify their corner position, because remember, Awuzie, last year of his deal and coming off an ACL surgery. You've got what's going to happen with Eli Apple. I don't know. I mean, he's just fine, let's bring him back signing. But you want to improve there, obviously. And in the safety room, you want to add some depth because you've got good names that have looked like they're going to be good for the Bengals for years to come. But Nick Scott looks good too. That was a good signing. But you want that depth because what they lost there is, it's pretty significant. What they didn't keep on the Bengals by the way of Von Bell and Jesse Bates, that's heavy. That there were a lot of game-changing plays made by those two guys. And, I'm happy with some of the people that they have been able to keep on the defensive end as well. But man, losing some of those big names definitely hurts. Also, worth noting, the Bengals did re-sign Drew Sample, I think it was a couple weeks ago. So that's nice. That's very good. But Von Bell, Jesse Bates hitting the bricks. Oof, man, that sucks. But you kept Jermaine Pratt. That's nice. You need to keep him. You brought in Nick Scott. That's good. You need him. You need to, and not only that, 3-year deal for Nick Scott. So he'll be there for a few years. He can kind of mentor this very young safety room that they've got going on. They brought back Trent Taylor. Doesn't look like they're bringing back Clark Harris at long snapper, so he's being replaced. They've moved on from Kevin Huber, Andrew Crispin, who we're going to talk about. So on the defensive end, I'm very happy with what the Bengals have. And it's very important that the Bengals improved defensively. Even though they had a good defense and had some game-changing plays on defense, there are some things that are worth noting. In pressures, they were middle of the pack. Sacks, I think they were 3rd or 4th worst in the league. So they would pressure a lot. But unfortunately with the Bengals, what we saw in 2022 were a lot of plays that should have been blown up and should have went for sacks that ended up turning into 3rd and long conversions because those pressures happened, but some big play would unfold. So now what you got is Myles Murphy, who can maybe finish that, can take some of the pressure off of other people, help add some depth and some speed and some athleticism there. And then on the secondary end, you've got a DJ Turner. And if it doesn't work with him, maybe you get a tip and Jordan Battle ends up pulling it down. You ended up structuring an entire defensive pressure as a result of that, because you've got one guy that's coming off and is attacking the quarterback. You got another who is contesting the pass, and another one who, after the pass is contested, can hopefully go up and get the ball. So I really, really liked what the Bengals did here, even though, it's always hot and sexy to get a good offensive player, right? It's always great to do that. You always love that, but that's not what the Bengals are looking to do, and they don't see tight end as a premium. But I think this is going to help out with that frustrating defensive pressure situation that we saw out of the Bengals last year, because there were a lot of quarterbacks who got especially for the level of talent the Bengals had, got way too much time. And iron sharpens iron in practice. So guess what? You're going to have these guys going up against Joe Burrow, who gets the ball out faster than anybody in the NFL almost. You're going to have them going up against a pretty damn impressive looking offensive line. And then you're going to have the secondary going up against, who? How about Boyd? How about Higgins? How about Chase? And then how about a really smart draft pick that they got in the 4th round? And I'm not talking like, this is a smart pick by the Bengals, though it was. We're talking a smart player in Charlie Jones. Got some size questions here, but he's got really good football IQ. He makes really great plays, and they doubled up, and they went, I'm not even going to, Andre Iosivas. Boy, I can't pronounce that, but I saw the tape on him, and man, is he a freak athlete. If they can hit on one of these two, well, that's fantastic. That's what you want out of the Bengals. If you can hit on one of these two, you're in great shape. So say one of these guys, well, at best, they'll be wide receiver 4, right? At best. Who was our wide receiver 4 last year? Trenton Irwin? I love Trenton Irwin. Trenton Irwin should not have been in a situation where he needed to score 5 touchdowns last year, but he was. Trenton Irwin, think about this. Trenton Irwin, who is back this year, is probably leaving next year. Tyler Boyd, probably leaving next year unless he gives us a too good to be true deal. So what you have here are 2 draft picks, a freak athlete in Andre, and then this really, really smart player in Charlie Jones. If one of those 2 hit, I think you got yourself a wide receiver 3. If one of them don't, you've got yourself a 4 or a 5 as far as depth. And you've got an athlete that can come pull the ball down, or a really, really smart guy who can make a play. And then you've got a wide receiver 5 in Trenton Irwin, because that's my hope, is that one of these guys solidifies himself as the 4th. You've got a really, really good 4, and then a wide receiver 5 who had more touchdowns than any receiver on the Ravens last year. Think about that. Trenton Irwin had more receivers or more touchdowns than any receiver on the Ravens last year. And I'm not buying into the OBJ hype. I'm not. Am I bummed that the Ravens got to keep Lamar Jackson? Yes, I would have loved a trash fire for the Ravens. As it turns out, they're probably going to be in the playoffs with the Bengals every single year if Lamar Jackson is there. He's great. But from Odell Beckham, he didn't play all year last year. The year before that, he was able to pull down 5 touchdowns. To me, he hasn't looked like Odell Beckham Jr. since 2019. And I know that the touchdown numbers don't necessarily reflect that year, but he hasn't looked like Odell Beckham 2020, 2021, 2022, because he wasn't there. So we're going 4 years removed for this. We'll see how it works. I hope he can do well, but not against the Bengals. So iron sharpens iron. You've got great receivers that are going to help this great secondary. Jordan Battle, who was the top player on their board by a long shot in the 3rd round. Bengals are always drafting wide receivers. Every couple of years, they draft at least one. That's why if you saw the show that I did before this, I don't know much, but I knew the Bengals were going to take at least one wide receiver. And I saw some people say, Charlie Jones is old. He's probably a one-contract guy. You got Chase and Higgins that you hope are 2, unless he explodes and becomes something special. Well, then, yeah, that's a problem we can get when we get there. But as far as the age goes, I don't care. He's going to be 24, 25. All right, they're going to have until he's 29 or 30. Cool. Then you can be on your way. I don't need every player to be a lifer here. I'm not looking for that. And especially in these later rounds, like we're talking about 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th round draft picks. Now, Andre just had incredible RAS numbers. I encourage you to go to Common Bengals W on Twitter and look at that. Izzy says, thoughts on the Eagles draft. I didn't pay that much of attention, unfortunately. But when you get to round 4, 5, 6, and 7 for the Bengals, traditionally, and we'll talk since the Dalton era, since the Bengals became winners again, you could argue the Palmer era was like that, but we'll say since the Dalton era. Round 4, you got Clint Bowling and Russell Bodine. Round 5, you drafted a kicker. McPherson was great his first year. He was okay his second year. But you got C.J. Uzomah. That was a great pick at number 5. You got A.J. McCarron. That was a really good backup quarterback to get in the 5th round. Like, A.J. McCarron did really good things for the Bengals when they needed him to. Marvin Jones is one of the best Bengals round 5 picks of all time. George Iloka, another great pick. Jake Elliott, who the Bengals ended up releasing, and obviously he's doing really good. And round 6, they got Rex Burkhead. And outside of that, they haven't had like a ton of production out of those spots in the later rounds. So that's something I'd love to see from the Bengals, because you look at the Bengals draft, first 3 rounds, they do pretty well. Let's go back in history. Let's look at recent history. Dax Hill, Cam Taylor-Britt, they're looking great, right? Zach Carter, we'll see. Cordell Volson, he's looking okay. Cool. I'm happy with that. Cam Sample, remains to be seen. But Joseph Osai looks great. Jackson Carman, solid depth that's being added this year. Jamar Chase, great pick. Joe Burrow, T. Higgins, Logan Wilson, well, obviously they did great there. They had the 6th round, Hakeem Adeniji. I would say for a 6th round pick, even though he's not great, he's been solid. He's been okay. Let's look at 2019. You got Jonah Williams and Jermaine Pratt in those first 3 rounds. Drew Sample is there. Drew Sample is Drew Sample. Before that, you had, Jesse Bates, 2nd round. Sam Hubbard, 3rd round. That was a home run. Billy Price, that didn't work out. 2017, they crapped the bed with John Ross. He wasn't what they thought he was. 2nd round, Joe Mixon, that was a great pick. Jordan Willis, not so much. So going back to 2017, they have by far hit on a lot more. Let's see. Since 2017, I'd say they hit on Mixon, Hubbard, Bates, Pratt. Jonah, I don't think Jonah was a first-round pick, but I would consider that a win. They'll probably get something good out of him. Burrow, Higgins, Logan Wilson, Jamar Chase, Joseph Asai. I'm looking at like at least 12 or 13 of these guys, and I'm like, all right, that's good. I am so excited about their round 5 pick, Chase Brown. His twin brother, who looks nothing like him, got picked. Sidney Brown picked a couple rounds before. They are twin brothers, but Chase Brown is 2 inches taller, I think. One of them is 2 inches taller and 20 pounds heavier. They got different hair. It's amazing, but he looked so emotional, so happy to be coming to the Bengals. And I saw a lot of people say, well, he's got mileage on him. He's got mileage on him. I don't care. They wanted some speed here. Joe Mixon is staying with the Bengals. I think that's become clear. Off the field problems gotta get solved. Just stay home, whatever. I don't care. I don't know what's going on, but until you get this solved, just, be the person outside the locker room that he is in the locker room, because I always hear great things about Joe Mixon in the locker room. And unfortunately, when the Bengals drafted him, it came with him punching a woman in the face, and you can argue the semantics of that and whether she had done something to cause that or whatever, but it happened and it looked horrible and it caused him to slide. The Bengals got him. He's been great for the Bengals until last year. If you take that one game out for Joe Mixon, he had an abysmal year. And I mean an abysmal year. And they've got him making a ton of money right now. He averaged under 4 yards a carry, barely broke 800 yards. Now, had he not missed 3 games, he would have been up near like 960, 970. Maybe he would have eclipsed 1,000 with a good game. But he wasn't having good games. Man scored 9 touchdowns all year after 16 the year prior. He got injured the year before that. So, I mean, if we get back to 2021 Mixon, well, yeah, I'm happy. He can catch the ball. He can run the ball. But I think the Orlando Brown draft, or the Orlando Brown signing, is going to open things up for Mixon. I think that's what they want to see. But he is not worth $10+ million, regardless of Orlando Brown. That money should go to Burrow or Chase or Higgins or one of those signings. Mixon is not worth that amount of money. And now they're in a situation where you got Jonah Williams making a ton of money, doesn't want to be there. Got to play right tackle. Lyle Collins making a bunch of money, isn't going to be playing half the season. Joe Mixon doesn't deserve that amount of money anymore. Is a 7th-year running back, but maybe he looks better with Orlando Brown. And all of that money, like if you had traded Jonah Williams for a draft pick, that's like 12, 15 million. If you cut Joe Mixon's salary down a little bit, you should be paying him maybe 5, 6. It's another $4 million. Lyle Collins, $8 million. That's over a year of one of these premium talent that you can get, that you can save on. That's a bonus, man. But Chase Brown, I think, is a great complementary piece. Connor Augenstein says Brown was a beast, set a school record for yards per game, 3,000 yards, 21 TDs. He's very fast. He's a patient runner as well. I think he's somebody that can immediately step in and help Joe Mixon. That's what I look at with this draft pick. I think he can step in and help Joe Mixon. And, maybe they give Travion Williams a little bit of a shot to compete there, and I think they should. Samaje Perine, to me, wasn't ever the answer. He was okay. He was fine. But also, in comparison to Joe Mixon, he was good because he got shit done. But I don't think Samaje Perine was ever going to be the answer. I mean, he could catch the ball as well, but that's what you have to be able to do as a running back on the Bengals. But Travion Williams, he didn't get to run the ball that much, but when he did all right. We didn't get to see a lot of him, but I think he should be able to step in and at least they see what he can do. But I think that Chase Brown is this guy I want to say split the touches with Mixon, but if Mixon's making $10 million, I want to see him get a fair shot at least, but also I don't want to see a situation where he turns into 2-Yardus Green Ellis, when they had Ben Jarvis, and you could count on him pushing it right up the middle for about 1.9 or 2.1 every single go of it. The Bengals traditionally, their running backs are good for a year or two, then they're just not anymore. With the exception of one particular guy in the early 2000s. But Joe Mixon has been great for the Bengals on the field. Like for years and years, he did really great. He came in where he needed to be. He proved himself better than Gio. By the way, Godspeed, Gio Bernard. Thank you for the memories. He retired this week. Sending a lot of love. But he had that first season, and he was all right. His yards per average were very misleading there because he came in and did whatever he was supposed to do. Took over the starting job, had 2 really great years, 18 and 19. He got hurt in 2020. You can't predict that. But he had a great year that year, all things considered. In 6 games, 428 yards in 6 games, pretty solid. Had a great year in 2021, but 2022, he was inconsistent. He wasn't reliable. He couldn't get the job done. And now you gotta get some depth there. I would have been happy if the Bengals drafted higher and got a running back and then maybe did something else with Mixon, but that's what they're going to do. And unfortunately, I got to live with it. Bengals also pick up DJ Ivey, cornerback, in the 7th round. Yeah, he'll be there to help out in practice. But Brad Robbins, they traded back earlier in the night, got Brad Robbins as a punter. He's got the best hang time of anybody in the NCAA. No touchbacks, very, very limited as a result of of I think it was good God, Michigan and their play. But this is the punter they needed. Kevin Huber is done. If you had any question about it, they let him go last year. He came back to the practice squad so he could provide depth in case Drew Chrisman got hurt. But you're going to have Robbins and Chrisman battling it out in camp. That's good. James Rapien had posted this. Jackson Carman will compete with Jonah Williams for the starting right tackle job per Zach Taylor. Zach Taylor said, Jonah's a valued member of this franchise. We're excited to have him. He is transitioning to right tackle. Lyle Collins, of course, he's still hurt. That's going to be a big question mark for a lot of Bengals. There are many question marks for the Bengals. Right tackle. Carman or Williams? Will you trade Williams? Mid-season, rarely, but will it happen? He ain't coming back. He wants to be a left tackle. When will Lyle Collins come back? But hey, 3 is better than 0, and 0 is what we had 2 years ago. Running back, are they going to cut Mixon's deal, or are they going to leave it as is? Okay, well, I don't think Ezekiel Elliott is out unless something else happens and they cut Mixon completely. I think Ezekiel Elliott, not a chance. Backup quarterback's a question as well. I would love for them to get a veteran. Let me see who's available. I mean, honestly, I'd love it if they went and got A.J. McCarron after this XFL season. That's what I would love. Why not, right? Go Battlehawks, by the way. But I would love for them to get a veteran free agent quarterback. I don't want them to bring back Brandon Allen. I don't want that. I would love to look at any number of guys who have been somewhere. And I don't mean like Joe Flacco, although I'd rather have, I don't know if I'd rather have Joe Flacco than Brandon Allen. I want somebody who has been places, started games, and done things. I want somebody, if someone goes down, like Burrow, obviously, if Burrow goes down, I want somebody to be able to step up. Somebody says, bring Andy home. Andy is in Carolina, and Andy makes way too much money. Andy makes like $8 million there. Andy Dalton is one of the best backup QBs ever because every time he's been signed somewhere, he ends up starting half the season and does solidly. Like, let's take a look at Andy Dalton here. I love this guy, too. He was great for the city of Cincinnati. He made the Cincinnati Bengals winners again after Carson Palmer left the team high and dry. So Andy Dalton gets brought in to be Dak Prescott's backup in 2020, and he ends up starting 9 games, completing 65% of his passes, 14 TDs, 8 interceptions. Gets brought in to be the Chicago Bears backup in 2021. He played 8 games, started 6, 3-3. 63% of his passes completed, 8 TDs, 9 interceptions. All right. Got brought in to be a backup again in New Orleans. Well, he started 14 games, 6-8, completed 66% of his passes, 18 TDs, 9 interceptions. He gets brought into Carolina this year to either mentor or be a backup to the number 1 overall pick. We'll see how that goes. But I got nothing but love for Andy Dalton. I hope he plays forever. He's wonderful. Another question for the Bengals at tight end, but I think that they got Irv Smith. They've got him. They're happy with Irv Smith. They're happy with taking somebody that other teams don't seem to believe in and then having Joe Burrow throw that ball to him, and then all of a sudden teams believe in him. Let's look at the Bengals free agent picks. Or free agent, undrafted free agents. Man, I am all over the place. Washington guard Jackson Kirkland. Tulane safety Larry Brooks III. Utah State running back Calvin Tyler Jr. Duke linebacker Shaka Hayward. East Tennessee State running back Jacob Sailors. Chattanooga defensive tackle Devonta Maxwell. Houston tight end Christian Trahan, who, athletically got terrible numbers. And then Auburn wide receiver Shedrick Jackson and Alabama linebacker Jalen Moody. The Christian Trahan one, like his 40 time was 5.31. I ran a better 40 in high school than that. Damn. Guys, I want to thank you all so much for joining. It's been a while since I've done one of these. Aaron says Burrow will break the bank more than Lamar. Maybe. We'll see. We'll see how that goes. AFC is stacked now that Rodgers is in New York. Hope Denise does not know. Oh, she knows. She knows. I've been razzing her about it. Bengals and Pats will be the best two defenses going forward. I hope so. Bengals got a lot of good grades on their draft picks as well. Like they got really, really high marks. So I'm very happy about the way that they did things. Again, you had questions about age for Charlie Jones. I don't care. He's probably a one contract guy in the 4th round. You got the running back, and they say, "Oh well, he's got miles on him." All right, cool. I know he can run. That's all that matters to me. I ain't looking for him to be a Pro Bowler or anything. Guys, thank you all so much. Until next time, we're out.